what are the techniques that you would use? I mean, how would you help me, for instance?
Oh, I mean, first of all, you can't and you don't want to push spirituality on anyone. You've got to firstly assess whether someone's very interested in that. So that's just an option from a kind of a coaching guidance perspective. You have to get a sense of the capacity, how much the person's experienced so far, how truly curious are they. Because, I mean, traditionally there is a sense that you should not foist what would traditionally be known as higher paths on people who really aren't ready. They just want to function. You know, they want to go to a counsellor or a psychologist and clear up a few misunderstandings or make their thinking a bit more positive. That's all completely doable, and it could just stop with that. You know, you can examine the way you're thinking. Negativity, you know, like a psychologist would with cognitive behavioural therapy, just looking at the nature of your thoughts. You can use Byron Katie therapy the work, to look at your beliefs and go into an inquiry of those, of any story that's arising. And then go beyond to that to see how that relates to Hinduism, because it's like we are not our story. When we're lost in the world, we can begin to get an actual experience of the meaning of Hinduism through those kind of things, like learning to meditate. There are many different approaches to that, from simply being with the breath to all sorts of contemplation approaches, which is more from Tibetan Buddhism, to contemplation of the very simple approach of Advaitic non-dual Hinduism, which is to see that you're consciousness, to see that you're not your thoughts and you're not your feelings, and that allows you to detach from the story and just taking the world and yourself too seriously. And really, in the end, where it leads, which you can't see at first, is to all lostness in the world is what the ego is. All spirituality in the end comes down to, are you entrenched in the ego? Or do you have a sense of resting in being? Have you come to know what being is? Because in being there is absolute peace. And because different paths have different strengths, like for instance, Advaita can just sit you very quickly back in being. And that's like, there's the absolute and then there's manifestation. And Hinduism has that capacity to just constantly point at your actual identity, your actual self being one with the absolute, one with God. You know, why stop at relaxing after a hard day's work when you can actually understand the meaning of life and have an experience of it, a direct experience of it, and allow that to grow within you. And then there are other approaches, because we're always moving in and out of the ego person. You'll never actually get rid of the ego. That's an illusion. The ego is a way of interacting with the world, so to speak, such that the world exists. If the ego exists, the world exists for you. And in certain moments, it seems to be essential that you will experience yourself as a being in the world. So at that time, you want to look at the purification of the manifestation, which means you as a person, using, you know, what people know as self-help and New Age, The Secret, all that kind of stuff. Unlimited positive thinking, turning your negative thinking around and beginning to see where you're limiting yourself, both in your life, way beyond that stuff, way beyond you creating a successful business like that's your greatest dream. I don't believe anybody's ultimate passion is to grow a business or make more money. This is all actually in the end leads to happiness and freedom. You know, that's why religion and spirituality dominated the landscape of man in the entirety of history until now. Because it has always been known that people know that they are the infinite, they know that they are ultimate meaning, and they will not be satisfied until they discover that. That's what enlightenment is, and that's where everybody wants to go, and why stop short? And that's what I have to offer, guidance towards that, for people who are truly interested.